Mr. Smith, we met at the World Economic Forum at Davos in January, and between then and now, Microsoft, you, and ChatGPT have virtually upturned the technological world as we knew it. I want to start by asking you about three statements which define different aspects of artificial intelligence. We had Sundar Pichai declaring that AI will be more profound than fire. We had the ex-chief business officer for Google X saying we are creating God. And then Elon Musk said we're summoning the demon. According to you, which one is it?
Well, I guess the first thing I would say is those three quotes are all good illustrations of the fact that the tech sector is never short on hype or hyperbole. I do think that the one that I would select as the closest to me is Sundar's. I don't know that I would match it with fire, but I think we will find that generative AI, is on a par with, say, the internet. It's on a par, perhaps, with the combustion engine, or maybe even the steam engine, and all of the things that ushered in the Industrial Revolution. In some ways, it will be profound in the sense that it, in many ways, is bringing the Industrial Revolution to knowledge work. And I think it has the opportunity to just improve critical thinking, to improve creative expression, to massively improve productivity, to connect people in new ways. So I'm very enthusiastic about it. And at the same time, as I'm sure we'll get into, there are undoubtedly people around the world who will find ways to use it for less noble aspirations as well. And we'll have to manage our way through all of this.
In the response that you've received to ChatGPT, has this been as per your expectations, way beyond your expectations? And what's the kind of response you've picked up to ChatGPT 4, which has just come out recently?
In many ways, I think it has been similar to the level of enthusiasm or just interest. But there have been many differences that none of us, I think, really expected, say, last October or November, or let me say last August when I was in India, and we knew what was coming, but it wasn't yet public. To me, one of the better illustrations of the surprises was the first controversy that really emerged. For those of you who just think back, ChatGPT was released on the 30th of November last year. And within 30 days, the first controversy was really, in many countries, from teachers who were concerned about whether students would use it to cheat. And that's not something that we had spent a lot of time thinking about at Microsoft. I don't think the folks at OpenAI had. We had thought about where there might be controversies, and it was not on the top of our list. It's, I think, caused us all to reflect on two things. One is just the way that this will, on an ongoing basis, interact or intersect with public opinion, with different currents of thought, different unexpected challenges that we'll have to think through quickly. And at the same time, it's a powerful reminder, to me at least, of how every new technology like this unsettles people in some ways at first, and then we all eventually just incorporate it into our lives, for good or bad. But one of the most interesting quotes about the controversy in schools came from a teacher in the United States, a teacher who was selected as the most outstanding teacher in her state, the state of Oregon, near Washington, where I live. And she said, this technology is like a crutch. And the problem is when you have a crutch, you keep using it and using it and using it, and then your muscles weaken. Now, what is most interesting to me about that quote is that it was uttered in 1984, and she was talking about the calculator. And it's just a reminder, I think, that there was a time 3 or 4 decades ago when we all worried that our kids, or maybe it was ourselves at that age, wouldn't be able to do math the way our parents or grandparents had. And now we just take it for granted that the calculator is part of everyday life. And happily, an awful lot of people still learn their math.
No,
So
but this is
there'll be
different,
some aspects
Mr. Smith.
of this.
It's not quite as simple as the calculator analogy, because generative AI is way more powerful. What I got my research team to do was to type into ChatGPT a bunch of questions which we should be asking Brad Smith at Microsoft. And the questions that have come up are almost as good as the research that they've come out with, which they spent a lot of time on. There is a very real fear. Does this take away our ability to think? If everything is available at the press of a button, then over a period of time, my ability to think deep, find solutions, because you've got machines doing the thinking for you, much more than a calculator ever could.
Well, I would say two things. One, first, I'd actually challenge the premise a little bit. Because, look, before the calculator, people were using slide rules for advanced calculations. People felt a need to memorize much more. So at a qualitative level, I would actually say the argument is very similar. But second, I'll embrace the other part of your premise, which is that this is more powerful. But then let's just step back. The real question is, will we choose to use it to replace our need to think, or will we use it as a foundation on which we can build and elevate our thinking? And the number one thing that I have to say, has probably convinced me the most about I'll even say the personal promise of what this technology means for just me in my own work, is I find that I can get answers to questions much more quickly. And when you can get an answer more quickly, it enables you to go more quickly as well to think about the next question. And so the thing I think we should all think about, and I think as a journalist, this is definitely right up the center of how you work, what is it about knowledge work that is most important? Being the first to find an answer, or being the best at finding the right questions? I personally believe that most breakthroughs come when people can ask more and better questions. And that's where I'll say the most talented and ambitious people will find a way to harness this technology.